So nice. Yeah. I should plug them in. Good idea. Yeah, it's right.
All right, good evening, everyone. I remind councillors and all those present that your image and what you say will be broadcast live to the public. So please be mindful of your actions and your comments. You should avoid making statements that might defame or offend, and that recording of this meeting will be retained online and in council's archive. Please turn your mobile phones off or just silent. Filming and photography off. Anyone filming the meeting may be asked to leave. I declare the meeting open at 7:02 p.m. So we do have requests to attend by ABL from Councillor Moorland and I think from Councillor Crowley. So no Councillor Crowley? Okay. All right. That's from Councillor Moorland. So a request received from Councillor Moorland to attend this meeting by audio-visual link in accordance with clause 6.21 of the Code of Meeting Practice. So therefore I move the following procedural motion that Council approves the request by Councillor Moorland to attend the 10th June extraordinary of the Environment and Planning Committee at 7 p.m. by audio-visual link because he's unable to attend in person due to reasons. Second for that.
Oh, sorry, I'm not a member.
No. Good try. Councillor Smith, I think it did. Is that right, Councillor Smith?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Is there any discussion? I'll put that. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Councillor Millen, you can vote on this. Thank you. That's sorry?
I can't vote.
You're not voting for it. Okay.
No, I can't vote.
Yeah, I always
No,
get.
you're not a member.
Just like
No,
him.
that's right. So I think it's unanimous then. For those who can vote. Is that right, Councillor Walsh, you were happy? Thank you. All right.
Sorry, my head.
Yes, I thought you did. All right, I'll declare that carried unanimously. Okay, I'll go back to here. Okay. A warm welcome to everyone in attendance and those watching at home tonight. I'll do the acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we live, work and play. We pay our respects to Dark and Young country and the elders past and present. We recognise the continued connection to these lands and waterways and extend this acknowledgement to the homeland and stories of those who call this place home. We recognise our future leaders and the shared responsibility to care for and protect our place and people. I do have apologies from the Mayor and Councillor McKenna and from Councillor Stanton. So I'll move that those apologies be received. A second for that. The Councillor Walsh, any discussion?
Apologies. This is accepting of the
Yes.
particular minutes.
No, accepting the apologies.
Right, yes, right.
No, we haven't done the
Sorry about
minutes.
that, Doug. Councillor.
I don't think we've got the minutes because it's an extraordinary meeting. So I think they'll all come together. Is that right?
Yes.
Anyhow, I'll put that the apologies be received. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Is there any disclosures of interest? I'm not proposing to go past everyone. If there's anyone who's got a disclosure, now's the time. I don't have any. No. Councillor Merlin's shaking his head, so I'll take that as there are no disclosures. Thank you. Oh, there is minutes. There is none. I've got confirmation of minutes, but I don't think we have any, have we? No. All right. So we've got McMaster, item 1.3, McMaster's Beach. Acting Director.
Verbal update.
Yes. Acting Director is going to give us a verbal update.
Yes. So as you know, that this was the original reason why we were having this extraordinary meeting. And I know some of the councillors have met with the community further, and myself, Luke, Ben and Nick met with Councillor Walsh and Wright out on site, some of the community groups last week in the pouring down rain to talk to them about coastal erosion issues, and we heard some further feedback. So Councillor Walsh, I might pass over.
Thank you, Shannon. I have sent a recommendation through which I don't know.
I've seen it, so
So is it able to come up? Yep. In speaking to this, I want to thank the staff for the amount of-
sorry,
Sorry.
Mr. Walsh, if you're moving the motion, it's fine. Seconder, we'll need a seconder, then you can speak to it.
I think, oh, sorry, apologies. Yeah.
Yes, I'm happy to say.
That's fine, thank you.
Yeah.
Yep, so please continue.
Yeah, so firstly, I wanted to thank the staff for all of the hours they've put in before getting to this point, and it's it's been a really good experience because the staff have been so helpful and so positive about trying to hear what the community's been saying and respond to that appropriately. So while that meeting out on site was very wet, somewhat uncomfortable once we were all outside, it was great, and it sent a really strong message, I felt, to the community groups, how staff did want to hear what their concerns were. So this recommendation is essentially a direct result of that quite successful meeting last week. And do you want me to read it through, or?
I think it's up there, it's up to you. I just think the first line needs to come out. No, the committee's right, just sorry, the very first line. No.
The draft resolution bit.
Yes.
Are there two resolutions on the screen?
No.
Yes, well, in effect, I think, as I read it, I think in a sense there is. The first one is the
So
part,
numbering might need to change then.
no, I think maybe the staff can correct me, but I think the first part is about what the committee already has delegation.
The history.
And the second part is stuff to go back to the council for it to.
That's right. That's accurate.
Yeah, because
That's
the
right.
council delegated
Yes,
decision-making on whether or not we would proceed with the grant, basically, which is point 2.
Yeah.
And then so we still need to put the other items back to council.
That's right.
yes. Can everyone read that all right, or we want to make it a bit bigger?
Oh, well, I just need it. Scroll down.
Yeah, scroll down, yep,
That's better.
I'll give you time to read it. I did see it, but only at about 6 o'clock this evening.
So can I just ask some commentary around this? Because I think at the last meeting, we had representation that said all of Max had a certain view.
Which they did.
We now know that that wasn't the case. So the staff recommendation last time was to, I think, to allow the funding to lapse and include in the CMP. Was that correct? And then the committee then made a different recommendation. So are we going back to essentially the staff recommendation? Or are we doing something completely different?
In part, it does recognise that original staff recommendation, but it expands on it. And it certainly makes it fuller in terms of responding to what the community has asked for.
Okay, and in terms of the funding that I think was in question, what is it doing in relation to that?
Well, do you want to?
That's,
Yeah.
scroll
That's
up.
number 2.
That's number 2,
Yeah.
yes.
So still proceeding with seeking a resolution to have the CEO request an extension of the current coast and estuary funding. So we'll go back to them as there is still some further works that would need to be done.
Okay, so is that proceeding with the original works under that grant, or is it proceeding with different works?
Well, it leaves it open, rather open-ended, I guess. It leaves it open. It acknowledges that there was not consensus agreement on. It acknowledges first the survey that council already had done, where respondents in the survey did not agree with any of the proposals in terms of design. We then moved to a situation where we had some of the community reps from the groups saying that there was that the survey was not adequate, I guess. I kind of argued against that, but essentially this after the meeting with the staff staff last Wednesday and some further consultation with staff between myself and Councillor Wright on Friday, we were able to come to this point, which also doesn't include the current designs, which is essentially similar to the well, it's what the community wanted. The community weren't in agreement about accepting those designs and running with any of them. You had some groups wanting to run with one design strategy and other groups disagreeing with that. This one, this is where we're at with all the groups agreeing.
Can we get back on?
Yeah.
Sorry, just down to the bottom of the recommendation.
Can I ask a question through you, Mr. Chair? Just the matter of the bulk of bags. And I know we're saying short-term safety works, etc. When you're saying replacing the deteriorating filled bulk bags, which I have seen for myself because I went down there and stood on the beach and could see exactly what you're talking about. It's not suggesting here what specifically they will be replacing, which I assume is will be replaced with. Is that, I'm assuming that is actually the intention of this phrase, that it's leaving that open. Am I correct in that statement?
Well, I'm sorry.
I'm reading through one of the staff.
Ben, do you want to?
Sure, yeah, I think the intention is to leave it somewhat open.
Yes.
There are a few other options there to replacing those bulk bags, but
Yeah.
it's a little bit of work.
I'm just making sure that was what I had thought when I seconded it, so I wanted to be clear. Thank you.
So again, just a point of clarification, maybe through to the staff. I can't see how this is looking at a long-term solution. Is this looking at long-term, or are we just again looking at short-term fixes, really tackling the bigger issue?
For you, Mr. Chair, I think the recommendation listed there effectively has 3 different stages for solutions there. The short-term and immediate, as just discussed, is replacing those failing bulk bags. The second is leaving an option in the CMP for temporary coastal protection works, which is more of a mid-term, mid-range solution. And then there is still the number 4, noting the inclusion of the action in the draft CMP to complete coastal risk and options assessment for marine parade at McMaster's Beach, which extends beyond the footprint of the surf club, but really right in front of marine parade.
And so all those dot points under number 4, where are they?
No, I think they're meant to be numbered separately. I'm just not sure that that's been done yet. They're not sub points to 4.
Yeah, they're all part of it.
But and that's on me. I didn't number them that way. So
Any other questions?
Can I make some comments?
Yeah, you're allowed to speak as a non.
Can I speak in favour of it or?
Not really, but
Okay.
if there's no objection from the other
you
committee
better.
members.
Yeah, no, I'm very happy to speak in favour of this. I think, as many know, it's been a long process, but I think it really shows the benefit of firstly having councillors who can champion these issues on behalf of the community. I think it's fair to say Councillor Walsh and I have worked well together on this, both coming at it of the view that what's most important is delivering for the community, and I think that's certainly what we've aimed to do throughout the whole process. And I'm sure that this delivers on it and does our best to bring the community together. I think, like Councillor Walsh, I want to thank the staff as well, often the unsung heroes of the organisation who might not be public facing, who won't get credit for this, but who've done an awesome job, particularly the acting director and her team, Ben Fulligar, Luke Skowski. at multiple times asked for alternate designs, and they did the best they could to put those forward. At each point, really listening to the community. I think as well, coming to McMaster's Beach last week with Councillor Walsh and I to hear those concerns was very good, and I think the community was very grateful for that. And again, I think it shows the great work that councillors can do by working together with the staff and with the community to achieve these outcomes. So yeah, really pleased that we got to where we did with this. Thank you again for Councillor Walsh for drafting the motion and putting it here alongside the staff, of course. And I encourage everyone to support this.
Could I just ask Councillor Walsh? I mean, I'm having trouble supporting it because to me it still reads as short term, and not doing the hard work about long-term solutions. So I'm just wondering if we can strengthen number 4. So the inclusion in the draft CMP through you, Chair, to the staff, what does that look like? So the draft CMP is just about to go out on exhibition, is that right? Okay, and so what kind of real consultation will happen on this particular issue rather than just letting people make submissions in terms of the alternatives and the long-term management of the issue?
Through you.
Or can we strengthen it by including something in the motion about that? I know councillors are saying they've gone out and spoken to people, and unfortunately I couldn't get to those meetings, so during work hours. But but I do know there is a big range of views at McMaster's Beach, and I do know there is a concern that sorry, I won't say again, but you know, all councils struggle with this, that we're not looking at those big long-term solutions or you know, doing the hard things that need to be done other than the short-term stopgap stuff, temporary stuff. So is there a way of strengthening that so that we can make sure that there's...
If I say something, I think that the original recommendation was around temporary works, and so and then there was a
recommendation from staff.
The original recommendation was essentially focused on temporary works. So then the next and that didn't go forward, and the recommendation that was put at the EMP meeting in you know, that certainly was looking at these initial responses as well as longer term. This wasn't meant to, and there were some discussions with community people last Wednesday around longer term, and that's very much was linked to the CMP. So this isn't meant to exclude longer term. And if you want to provide some wording around strengthening this to have that acknowledged, you know, I'd be happy with that. But is that kind of how you?
Yeah, I think the original recommendation from staff was not to proceed with the temporary coastal protection works due to the community feedback that was imbalance posed to those works, and also given the current progress of the coastal management program and knowing that there is the action in there for a more permanent solution for all of that area in front of the Surf Club and Marine Parade to be identified through the CMP. Train of thought there. What was the other part of the question?
Look, it was just trying to strengthen, well, I guess, yeah.
It was, so in regards to the action, so that is how the action is worded in the draft CMP in item 4. So it is fairly open-ended at the moment. I don't expect at this stage that the CMP would be drilling down into the detailed design. There'd have to be a process to go through as part of that. There'd be consultation with the community after the adoption of the CMP to figure out what that may look like and ultimately come to council. So at this stage, anything's on the table, but if there was a view by council through the exhibition period or otherwise, something more definite, that's up to council.
Okay, could I ask maybe that we include that that this become an agenda item for that subcommittee that hasn't formed yet, because I know we've had a crisis, whatever that subcommittee is called, that this become a specific agenda item and work. I want to say working group, and I don't want to form another committee, but I just think it needs that level of attention, that it doesn't just end up being, that we end up looking at the long term. So would the movers be acceptable to adding that in, that the McMaster's Beach coastal, protection, coastal management becomes an agenda item, a standing agenda item for,
Is it the coast and catchments? Is that?
yes, at the Coast and Catchments
Yeah.
Committee?
Coastal Estuary and Floodplain Management Committee.
It rolls off the tongue, doesn't
That's
it? Yeah. And I think I'd be a little bit more comfortable that it just doesn't get slotted into a document. We just take submissions and then it doesn't really have a long-term, direction, really. We just keep doing.
So councillor Walsh,
Just in point 3 that's been wiped up now, receives that
Coastal
Masters Beach coastal management.
but that should be in the second part surely of the
That's not what Jane's saying.
no, but I mean,
So maybe so part 3 requests that the McMaster's Beach coastal management, or that becomes a standing agenda item for the coast. Yeah, that's fine. So just if we can
Yeah,
discuss that bit.
sorry, the point I'm making, it should be in the second half, I believe. The committee recommends to council.
Yep.
And then, yeah, put it down as
Yeah, right.
further down, yeah. No, numbering doesn't matter too much. Yeah. Logically, I think that's where, if you're going to have it, that's where it should go. Councillor Walsh, you happy with that?
I am.
And so just instead of receives, requests that.
Yeah. Councillor Castles?
Yes, I'm fine with that.
McMaster's Beach coastal management. Thank you. We can talk about it in 3 different committees.
Councillor Wright?
I was going to say maybe it'd be more friendly if you removed the word "the" request that Masters Beach coastal management.
Sorry.
It's the word "the" before
Oh,
McMaster.
yeah.
Doesn't matter either way, I don't think, but yeah.
Grammatically, it does.
I don't know, I actually think that was possibly correct, but I'm not, not going to die to show it. Doesn't make it.
If you need someone to participate, I think it probably was.
Yeah. That's the lawyers talking. Doesn't say, change the sense of it, so it's fine. Councillor Wright, any comments?
No, just I think great result.
All right, before I put, I'll just congratulate Councillor Walsh and Councillor Wright for working with the community and getting a hopefully fairly acceptable outcome for everyone. All right, there's no more debate. I'll put it. All those in favour, please raise your hand.
You're
You're
not
not
a
a
Jared.
Oh, sorry.
Put your hand up.
Don't you want to be?
That's carried unanimously. All right, we move on to item 1.4, logo, and invite the director. Where is he? Yeah, there he is. Or one of his team to give a presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. As council is aware, there has been a fairly comprehensive, though rushed presentation workshop to the councillors in relation to this matter. Essentially, we're looking at something that is mandated, going from doing a garden organics in a green bin to having food organics also included in that. What this report seeks to do is allow us to go through the question of first phase. I need to highlight that there are a number of whole points in relation to this process, so that no decision to appoint any contractor will happen, or the expression of interest come back to this committee and the next step is considered. as mentioned, that this is mandated from the state government to have FOGO implemented for all New South Wales councils, essentially with some exceptions out in the west, by 2030. And I've put the recommendation to the consideration.
Questions, councillors?
Yes, if I could ask a question through you to, I'm trying to look at Boris, to the director. I note that the planned model is a public-private partnership model. Do we have any, I mean, I realise that many councils are starting to kind of roll this out now, et cetera, but do we have any examples, without obviously breaking any confidential information that we obviously can't do at this point in time anyway, where that's working quite well in terms of FOGO? I think we probably, you know, all had sort of, even if it's just sort of background interest in public-private partnerships when we've seen some of the issues around the toll roads and things like that, which admittedly is a different matter, but nevertheless, I know sometimes, you know, it's not all roses, so to speak. Do we have any sort of anything yet that we can kind of get our head around in terms of the PPP with this particular type of, I suppose, project?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Castles. The directions paper is probably the first step in understanding what there is in our local area that you know, we looked at in detail in the ability process in this local area. Yes, there are a number of councils in the Sydney region that are undertaking FOGO at the moment, and they're all going through a similar process of going to market. Did have a list, you know, probably guys have it. We've used some other examples. So I might pass over to Andrew or Darren in relation to what councils are already on FOGO, because there are.
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, through Mr. Chair, a number of the I guess we'll call them rural councils are predominantly the ones that are in the front foot in the space, and that's because of the scale of their activities are a lot less. They've got plenty of land around them. They don't need to deal with odours and things like that to the same extent. So they're quite progressive, being able to, you know, like a lot of cases, it's a lot less infrastructure because it's not necessarily a complex tunnel composting facility. It might be open windrow like approach, but they've got minor quantities where there's just a, you know, the Donut Council is a city in the middle, they're servicing that, and it's, you know, part of making a regional area. In terms of Sydney, look, there's facilities that are already in Sydney that the councils are in the Sydney area committing to build anything at this point because the private sector can supply that, or will supply that when it has contracts that underwrite it. And there's a bit of that in play at the moment. So there's only a couple of councils, only a handful of councils in Sydney that have gone down the FOGO path. It's actually all being transported to Western New South Wales or Central Western New South Wales, or to Woodlawn in the Southern Highlands for processing. And there is some future facilities that will also be built in Sydney. So the private sector is providing that. Here on the Central Coast, there is no capacity to process our food organics / garden organics combined material. Really, this contract will be the catalyst for the investment in that space. And one of the challenges with that is actually identifying the land to which to do it. And Port Council's in a fortunate situation of having that land holding with a lot of existing infrastructure and around it. Now, if I go to some of the other councils in between, something like Newcastle City Council, just by example, they've actually been through an expressions of interest process similar to what we're doing here about a year ago. Doing a review of that at the moment.
Okay.
They have been through that as well. So, yeah, so there's a bit of a common, a bit of all different circumstances, but all boils down to the ability to for the market to provide the service. And at the moment, the infrastructure at the moment, it does not exist in this region. Somebody has to build something somewhere.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Yes.
You said Central West. Where in the Central West?
Blaney in Orange.
Oh, really? Okay.
So, yeah.
Is there scope in terms of these call for expressions of interest to allow for some aspect of collection of gases and creation of energy in somewhat called a bioreactor Is that a capacity within the scope of this contract?
So the technology that we've assessed all the different technologies which are available, and it all comes back in the directions paper and the like discusses all this, the initial reports. Anaerobic digestion, it's good for food, wet waste, wet organic materials, but not the dry matter of garden organics. So putting garden organics through an anaerobic digester isn't really a suitable feedstock for that. So if it was just pure garden or pure food waste, yes. But so we've got a mixture in there.
Yeah, no, what I'm actually asking is we're asking for a public, private.
Yep.
Body to come and provide this service.
Yep.
But what I'm wondering is how broadly can they add on
Yes.
to the essentials of a FOGO?
Yep.
Can it include something?
Yep.
Other than what's
Most definitely.
typically can.
Yep. Most definitely. So the idea of expressions of interest is, well, we've got to go to the market with something. We've got something that's going to the market, what we believe, but certainly the market will have the opportunity to look at any other alternative technology, or it might be a combination of technologies. It could be that someone proposes to have the investor composting to do with the woody waste, but then they get the commercial food waste from somewhere else, and it's pure food waste, and that may be choose to go through anaerobic digestion. But yeah, through the digesters. But in terms of the digesters, I mean, the examples of that in Australia are very limited, that it's successfully operating.
I thought there was something as.
Councillor Neil, can you address through the chair? Only because you're a bit faint. That's, I'm not sure you'll be picked up.
I thought there was some.
I never thought I'd say I need you to speak up, but there you go. I do.
I'm probably doing that because we're fine.
I understand. I'm not, it was just I wasn't sure it was going to be picked up on the video. That's what I was actually worried about.
Chair, was there some facility at bioreactor at Woodlawn at some stage? Is that right? Yeah.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, there is a facility that's operated by a multinational company there. There's a couple of facilities on that allotment. One of them is called a bioreactor. It's essentially a landfill site that collects the gas, the same as what we do in an engineered cell. And then there's also a facility there that is processing some FOGO material as well. Through they're doing some composting there as well. But yeah, when they talk about bioreactor down there, a lot of the time it's just a landfill site, which is and the gas is collected very similar to what we do on our sites.
So there is scope for someone expressing interest to have a range of other possibilities as well as just the FOGO.
Yes, that is the one of the advantages of the expressions of interest.
Okay. Other questions? I've got a few, but I'll so there's a comment in the detailed report about red bins going to fortnightly. Is that still proposed? Because that hasn't been very successful in other council areas. It's on page 651. Well hidden, I must say.
The model and the costing includes weekly pickups for both red bin and green bin.
All right, it says here, I'll just quote you what's here. Majority of households in the LGA will transition from a weekly red bin collection to a fortnightly collection. Page 651.
I've already had negative feedback from a Channel 9 story arising from that.
Yes, exactly. So can you please clarify that?
As
I mean, I understand what you said, but I mean, I'm only reading what the report says.
So is that in the business case component, or is that, sorry?
It's page 651 of the attachment 1. Facility business case final draft redacted.
The intention is 100% to not have it fortnightly and have it weekly.
Okay. So we might say something about that. So I know the whole process has got a negative CBA, and I understand the government is mandating it. But out of that, how much is it actually going to cost our residents?
You told us.
So what we've identified, council, is it will depend on what the expression of interest comes back as. By looking at other councils, the range in the report is possibly $50 to $100. What is also included is a levelling of that, potential increase that will be subject to, council consideration to utilise the domestic waste reserve. So that in the initial, first year, I'd be recommending that there is no increase or just the CPI increase.
Intergenerational equity issue then, isn't it?
Well, that'd be something, as said, that for council to consider over the next maybe 8 to 10 years or 5 to 10 years, how they want to utilise the domestic waste reserves.
Okay, and the final question from me now. So in the CBR, it talks about a benefit from the reduction in greenhouse gas, but I couldn't get out of the report whether that was what you might call a whole of society benefit or a benefit that it was actually in dollars to council.
I might pass that on to
Probably both.
Mr.
It might be both, yes.
My understanding is there are acceptance rates in relation to this we use in this field. So I will pass on to Mr. North.
Yeah, so through you, Mr. Chair, or to you, Mr. Chair. There's a calculated value that the state government applies to greenhouse gas savings, which is being used within the business case. I think it's $120 per equivalent, carbon tonne equivalent. So that's a standard measure. It's a numerical value that's widely used within projects such as this. So it's what's the numerical value to society, council, of offsetting those carbon equivalents.
So it's like a community-wide benefit, not something that is actually dollars into council.
Well, again, it's a measure that's used by the state government.
That's okay. I understand. I wasn't, I just couldn't, it was there in the figures, but I didn't understand how it actually related to dollars and cents.
So if we didn't build this, that cost would be a cost that council bears in some shape or form across the community.
Well, possibly, although of course, if it goes into landfill and if, as we currently do, we're capturing the methane and using for energy, then it's a bit harder to work it all out, isn't it? But I'm not saying we capture all the methane. I know we don't. All right, and back to the director. I know there was some discussion between you and myself and the chair of the Economic Development Committee about just adding a clause in that basically provided a bit more flexibility. Did that go into the report or hasn't it yet? Sorry, into the recommendation?
No, it hasn't been included. Staff have got that
Oh,
recommendation.
Can that be put up so at least people can have a look at it?
Time.
It was just a,
So
always, wasn't it? I think.
what was being discussed was the opportunity to make it clear to the market that council was interested in receiving potentially alternate expressions of interest for consideration. And what we discussed was something along the line was, we want to catch this if you haven't got it. The time is when seeking an expression of interest, EOI, for the FOGO project, council is interested in alternative options for processing, site selection and any other commercial opportunities.
And I think there was some discussion when the directions paper was considered, was the possibility that a commercial player might actually put forward a proposal that serviced other LGAs as well and offset the costs that it would cost this council to deliver that service.
And that's what we're in a very, through you, Councillor Neal, we are in somewhat of a unique situation as we do own our own parcel of land. It's been close to the M1 exit ramp, so we've got that percentage. We've identified type of potential processing that can happen and it is scaled to the site.
And we could potentially
That was last week.
services to the
Last Tuesday.
and northwest.
Correct.
Boris. So we're just finding the words. I'll repeat it, and this was drafted in association with the director. When seeking the EOI for the FOGO project, council is interested in alternate options for processing site select and any other commercial opportunities. Sit down. Sorry, yes, councillor Smith.
Thank you to the staff. I am still working my way through the detail of the documents, but I'm just trying to understand where the various model options have been considered. So what I can see is table 19 and table 17 that provides a little bit of that, but are they discussed in more detail, or is that part of attachment B that I haven't found yet that I might find eventually?
Through you, Deputy Mayor Councillor Smith, that was certainly included in the feasibility report where
It's attachment B, isn't it?
that was the previous
Yes, madam.
report to council in relation to one of the steps that were taken in this whole process. What we've included in this report is the summary of that table that identifies the different options that were considered for processing.
So is that table 19 or is there more than table 19?
So, yes.
That's the extent to what we're seeing.
Sorry, talking about processing or?
No, I'm talking about those delivery model options.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So where are they? Is that just table 19?
and in our feasibility, the feasibility report.
And we've got that feasibility report?
Yes, it was approved.
Approved by council,
When you say approved by council at a council meeting?
yes. Not this council though.
No,
Oh, not this council.
So,
no.
Which council? Administrator? Okay, well, it's fine. Can we get a copy of that report? Have we got it? It's been circulated? Do you remember when
Okay.
the administrator approved that?
There's this May 2024 thing.
yes,
Yes.
Other questions? Otherwise, I've just also added in, which I think the committee will be happy with, that council notes that red bin collection will remain weekly. Is there any more quick discussion? Any more questions?
Discussion, I'll just make the comment that I don't think this council should be making a decision based on something the administrator adopted. With all respect to the work that staff have done. I mean, the administrator, in my view, did a number of things that were questionable. So, yeah, I won't be supporting this as it is until I've seen those other documents and had time to work my way through them.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll move the recommendation. Is there a seconder? Oh, councillor Merlin, yes, seconding. Thank you. Is there any more discussion? Not, I'll put it. Those in favour, please raise your hand. Oh, councillor Eaton, councillor Merlin, against? Councillor Walsh, councillor Smith, councillor Castles. All right, the motion's lost. What do you want to do?
Have we seen that feasibility study that the administrator based his decision making on?
Through you, Mr Chair, it's a public document. It's listed in the council minutes of that meeting that's in the report.
Okay, could I request or even move motion that be circulated to councillors, to the committee again, and that we basically revisit. I know that's horrible for me to suggest, but at least revisit it to gain some confidence in the direction that council is pursuing. because I don't have.
Put some words together, please, councillor Smith.
Well, that the feasibility study and decision of the administrator be circulated to the committee. Part B, that the committee.
Just hang on slightly, please.
That the feasibility study and decision of the administrator from March 2020.
I think it's May 2020.
2024 be circulated to the EMP committee. That this item be considered again at the next meeting of the EMP. So that councillors, that's probably enough. I probably shouldn't elaborate on that. At the next meeting, or do we need
You don't want it to go
month?
to all councillors?
Oh, well,
I
yeah,
think it'll
before
have to be the-
councillors. Yeah, absolutely.
That the committee, isn't it, that the committee recommends to council, isn't it? Isn't it got to be?
Sure. So feasibility report and decision by the administrator.
You want the date there?
Yeah, in brackets, sorry, was it May or
May
March
2024.
2024? Circulate to the MP committee, and then part B. Chair, happy for you to.
I'm happy with the wording, support it.
That the item be considered, be further considered by the EMP committee.
So we meet once a month.
And it's July meeting.
Do we want the July meeting, or do we need, I mean, I'm not deliberately trying to delay it, but do people need more time? Or?
Jane, can I just clarify with you, if you're asking for this feasibility study to only come to EMP committee members?
I don't mind. I'm happy for it to go to all.
It just doesn't stipulate that, so.
It goes to all councillors anyhow.
Be circulated to all councillors. Sorry, in the first one, by the administrator be circulated to all councillors. Part 2, that the item be first.
Is there a seconder for that?
Second that.
Stick to the councils. Councillor Merlin's had his hand up for a while. Councillor Merlin, do you want to speak?
Well, I was happy to second the motion, so.
Oh, okay. Do you mind?
No, that's fine. That's
Okay.
no problems.
All right, is there any further discussion on this? Not, I'll put this to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor Smith, Councillor Castles, Councillor Walsh, Councillor Merlin against, Councillor Eaton. I'll declare the motion carried. Thank you, Director and your team. You're excused if you would like. I mean, you're welcome to stay and, watch the fun if you want.
No, thanks everybody. Yeah.
Okay, the next item is draft flood risk management policy. Yeah, sure.
I think we need to present it.
Luke, Pete, do you want to come and sit over here? Is that easy?
Sure.
So easy for us.
Yeah.
Save my neck.
Getting around, yeah.
These slides are just what has been showed
Let me see.
before, but they're there if the council wants to go back to anything for clarification.
Sorry.
Oh, there was 3 previous councillor briefings on this matter.
So the slides are going to go up anyway, for us to have a look at. Peter. Yeah, great.
But yeah, I wasn't proposing to go through it all, unless there's a need to answer a question.
Okay, questions? Yep,
Take questions.
yep. Any questions? Yeah, I've got a few, but I'm happy to go to other councillors first.
Is this to? Fine.
All right, I'll
Yeah,
start.
I'm having exhibition, right? That's all right.
I'll start. So the timeframes listed for the various sites of development. So houses have gone up from 35 to 40.
Yes.
Is there any rationale behind that?
Yes, so that's talking about the south. So back in 2015, the previous Gosford City Council that time adopted a 35-year planning horizon for residential property, which would bring it through to 2050. I think that's how the 35 years came about, just because it was a neat number that ended up landing on 2050.
Well, that 35 would be a neat number again, wouldn't it?
And the committee is, would be happy to choose that, but we just thought we're starting again, and there was no good reason for the 35 other than at that time it added up to 2050. So we were just rounding it up, but it could stay at 35. But
And then again, following on the same issue, I mean, high rise 80s seemed to be quite extreme, I thought. I thought 50 was probably adequate for that.
I think we did actually, the preparation of the draft policy, try to find whether there was actually any standards or similar that we could base this off. There isn't. So there is an element of captain's call about it, I guess, but yeah, council, if they chose to, could decide to amend those numbers.
I mean, the major road, water and sewer, that's all fine. I agree with that.
Well, the longer the lifespan of the building would mean if you're projecting higher sea level rise scenarios, that you would then need to build the floor level of the building to a higher level.
So it's the number of years before they have to comply with the policy. Is that what you're changing?
No, so it would mean if you're building a house today.
What are you proposing?
Go back to 35 years for houses, sorry, which is the current standard, if you like, and 50 years for other buildings apart from.
Until when? 35 years?
No, so the way it works is that when you're building let me give you the easy example. You're building a house today, your minimum floor level is what the sea level is projected to be in 35 years' time, plus 500 mils of seaboard. Have I got that right?
That's correct.
So it does it.
Freeboard, sorry, not seaboard.
It's more over time.
Yeah, so the longer, if you adopt a scenario which has a longer lifespan for buildings, they're going to need to cater for more sea level rise.
that's right.
And sorry, there was, so, and this is probably to the director rather. So there's mention in some of the, I raised a few questions and got most of the answers. So there's going to be a review of the DCP. I assume that will come to this committee.
Sorry.
And the only other one I'm suggesting at this stage is that we review these policies, this particular policy, say every 5 years. Because obviously you can then track it according to what actually happens. And then obviously if it's going higher, you move it up, and if it's not, then you can, maybe you don't move it lower, but you don't have to go up as quick.
Sensible approach.
Then, would that impact in any way people's willingness to build? I suppose probably not, but like people delay Not, I suppose, I'm just thinking of more the apartment blocks.
No, what it would mean, councillor Smith, is in 2030, you'd set a different height, whether, you know, which might be a bit more, might be a bit less. But I mean, that's a decision for somebody who's making, you know, deciding to build in 2030. It doesn't affect whether they decide to build now.
Yeah, no, okay.
Because I mean, what's come out of this report, at least as far as Gosford is, Gosford was somewhat over enthusiastic, maybe.
Or visionary.
Yes, what you want to like, but
100%.
Thinking.
I think you two should have an argument about this somewhere else.
the reality is the staff are recommending a slightly lower level in respect of Gosford. So has anyone else got questions?
Sounds like they took a safe rather than sorry approach. So,
Yeah, through, through you, yeah. So obviously the plan for this will be that it is going to go out on public exhibition, isn't it? That's what we're doing here. We're looking at what will happen. Now, will we be having some sort of, in a sense, plain English, easy to understand information that will be included with this report when it does go on public exhibition? Because I could see, as with everything, people can get very confused about these things. I mean, look, we've all had to ask numerous questions and we've had briefings, we've read stuff, usually relatively smart people in here most of the time. So I think, just asking how the plan will be for something as important as this, considering, how you've only got to sort of look at the word flood and people kind of generally, have almost an emotional reaction to it because of these situations that many people have found themselves in over many, flood events. So making sure people can understand what this is about is it probably one of the most important things when you look at anything that we might, in a sense, put on public exhibition. What's the plans?
Yeah, we will have some easy to read information. We'll have a whole heap of questions and answers onto that people might ask. Staff will be available to meet with as well and work through it. I think with this too, because of the changes that were made by the state government now, which has been quite confusing. I know we've had a lot of people coming to council too and asking for more clarification, council policy, and once this is completed too, and then the updated development control plan controls will mean that the whole of the LGA has similar controls as well. So I think because the Department of Planning's changes are not that easy to understand, and the wording in the clauses is really ambiguous as well. So it's a lot of people I think have been waiting for this and know it's coming, as well as the first step in getting some standard controls, which will be easy to understand, but we definitely will.
That's great.
So easy to read.
I think it's so important.
Information as well.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Yeah, it's certainly quite complicated. All right, I'll move, Mr. Oh, councillor Nolan, sorry, thank you.
Just a quick one, Mr. Chair, can we make sure any communications and Russell's comment also addresses any concerns around insurance premium issues as well? When we've had this discussion previously, both at Gosford Council or Wyland Council, there's been some challenges around impacting insurance premiums as well. So if we can just take that into account with any communications that come out in regards to this matter.
Yes, thank you. Happy to take that on board. So I'll move the recommendation 1, 2, but with an extra, well, probably have to change the wording, a 3 and 4 that I just sent through. Probably should be 2 and 3, and then we'll have 2 and 4, I think. I was just adding in those things that I just talked about. Obviously, I think the staff are happy with 3. I don't think there was any great opposition to 2.
So what's the current values for point 2?
Well, currently it's 35.
Right, for those.
I don't know what it is, the other buildings. And remember, it is other buildings, so I didn't touch the infrastructure type stuff.
Can you
At
assist?
the moment, it was saying for commercial industrial, 60 years and 80 years for high rise, but 50 years for each of those would be fine.
So is there a seconder? Councillor Merland? Yeah. It is only obviously going up next week.
Yeah.
Is there any other discussion? All right, I'll put that. All those in favour? Unanimously, thank you. Thing, isn't it? Yep. Oh, no, sorry, one more item, 1.6. This shouldn't take long.
On the statistic.
Yeah, I did send through a additional item, sorry, additional paragraph to add to this report. Have you got that? Came from
Advisory or just?
director.
Oh, yeah, I didn't send that. Sorry. You let me send it.
Oh, 1.6.
While waiting for it to go up, I'll just give you the background. It's basically picking up what happened in the Economic Development Committee, which accepted a report about tourist accommodation that basically said we wanted to do something. We needed a lot more high quality tourist accommodation. Sorry, I thought you would have said that.
Sorry, yeah, I don't know whether it's me or.
Yeah, or me, yeah.
Oh, I see. Oh, funny.
Okay, it's there now. Councillor Neil, I know you were at the Economic Development Committee when this matter was discussed.
They'll rush out and do it.
And obviously Councillor Merlin was in the committee. Councillor Merlin, you're seconding?
Yeah, I'd like to also support the recommendation. I was really critical of the report because the report didn't address any of the issues that we're all aware of the real issues constraining development in our region. So I think this is the first step towards really attracting good investment in our accommodation sector. So thank you for the recommendation.
Thanks, Andy.
Is there any questions, discussion?
Chair, I have trouble supporting it on the spot like this. We haven't got any preparatory information. We haven't got any outline. I mean, I think it's poor policy to put a part 2 that says that basically throws open the door without any preparatory work about suitability, about guardrails, about what the desired outcome is. I mean, I really just
Councillor Smith, aren't you on the economic development?
I am, but I still don't recall that we had any good information. And with respect to staff, I can remember the discussion. And I can remember there was querying the report that councillors received. But then we've jumped from that to a part 2 that really seeks to throw carte blanche out into the community without any analysis, preparatory work, or any study of.
That was all in the report. Anyway, it's a matter for yourself. It was all in the report.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's the bad old days, isn't it? Yeah, I can't support that.
That's fine.
Be happy to get
Discussion.
some further information from staff about that really looks at suitability of areas to be encouraging this, but there's no definition there of what the actual outcome is other than Yeah, then just a free for all.
So I wasn't at the Economic Development Committee, and that was pretty much the reaction I was having to that, feeling really part two. Yeah, only the part two bit. So I can't support it on that, pretty much on that same sort of basis.
Fine.
It's the first I've heard.
Do you want to move an
First
amendment?
I've heard of it.
Do you want to move an amendment then that it's just part one, which was the committee recommendation?
Yeah, look, I'd move that way. I'm happy to get some further information about suitability of areas where council might encourage.
I would welcome,
You
a
know,
lot more information.
yeah, maybe we could just request further information or presentation to this committee, because not everybody was on the Economic Development Committee, and you're asking them to approve a recommendation without that background, without that information.
Do you want to move?
And I don't even know what that is that you're asking for, other than free for all. What is that? What are you actually asking for?
We're trying to encourage good quality tourist accommodation.
What's good quality mean?
Well, that's a matter for it's got to go through planning proposals, goes through a huge process. You know that, Councillor
Yeah,
Smith.
I do. And council needs to set some policy guidelines and guardrails around that.
But a planning proposal gets assessed as to whether it's going to be in conformity with any of the policies of council and in accordance with, all the planning issues. So I'm not sure that there's, that many guardrails around planning proposals now that I have to say, in my opinion, you just don't want tourist development, and that's fine.
I don't want spot rezonings that don't fit in with an overall policy objective.
One of the ones that was discussed at the Economic Development Committee was the El Largo site. It's actually already zoned for tourism, but the council, in its wisdom, the previous council, reduced the height limits to 8 stories. That hasn't certainly helped the viability of it. So it would actually need a planning proposal for that to increase the height limit. Now, are they going to get 50 stories? No, of course not. Is 12 or 15 stories out of the questions? Not in my view, but that would be a decision that would be made by the council if there was a planning proposal put in for it. And we all know the issues we've got with El Largo. And that was discussed at the committee.
I'll move the original recommendation. I'm welcome staff to bring back some kind of considered and well thought through policy position on this, but that's not what we're looking at here.
Okay, there's an amendment moved by Councillor Smith. It's just the recommendation, seconded by Councillor Walsh.
So this is just recommendation 1?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Are we?
Remove number 2.
No, it's the amendment. Sorry.
The amendment.
Yes, the amendment is just 1.
Yes.
Well, I'll actually will put a part 2 to that, which the committee notes concerns about a lack of policy or strategic direction around encouraging. What are we calling it? Are we calling it ecotourism, or what are we calling it?
No, it wasn't ecotourism.
What was your referral? What was it? You
started off as high quality tourist resort.
So that's your.
Well, that was what was in the Economic Development Committee. And
it was tourism and accommodation on the Central Coast.
Yeah.
So tourism accommodation. Okay, that's
Not necessarily high quality, John.
Around tourism accommodation.
Really?
On the Central Coast.
It was pretty clear in the report.
You can mention that if you. Yeah.
Sorry?
It was, because it was like, that was where the gap was.
Oh, sorry, staff, just ditch number 2. Let's just go with number 1. Sorry.
I think that's easier.
Yeah. Because we know what will happen.
That was moved.
Okay, so that was moved by, yes, Councillor Smith, second by Councillor Walsh. Is there any more discussion? All right, I'll put the amendment. All those in favour? Councillor Smith, Councillor Walsh, Councillor Castles against, Councillor Eaton, Councillor Merland, I declare the amendment carried. It now becomes the motion.
I would just say I would like to see something sensible back to a meeting.
All those in favour of the motion, please raise your hand. Councillor Smith, Councillor Welsh, Councillor Castles, against Councillor Eaton, Councillor Merland. I declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. I think that does conclude the meeting, doesn't it? Okay, thank you very much. Next meeting is Tuesday, the 1st of July, new financial year, and I declare the meeting closed at
Thanks, councillor.
11 past.
yes, 8:11.
That's what make tomorrow.
Japan.
Japan.
He followed you.
Yeah,
Like.
yeah, he's following.
You're the trendsetter, Councillor Neil.
It's following you.